So if you're like me, you might have had your first monitor, picked it up, started clicking through all the buttons and just stumble upon this weird looking screen with loads of bright colours and just think, no idea what that is, I'm never going to use it, so I won't be back on that page ever again. And looking back, that was actually pretty ignorant of me. However, now that screen, known as false colour, has actually become my most favourite way of checking the exposure of my image. So the monitor that I'm actually using is this Cine monitor. I'll link the exact model down below so you can check it yourself if you want. And it's a monitor that's fairly cheap. I got it for £160 when I bought it brand new, and it doesn't have a touchscreen or anything, it's just all buttons, but it does have the false color built in, as well as other functions such as peaking and waveform, etc. But this video I'm going to be talking about false color, and that is a monitor that I'm using and have been using for 18 months or so now. So generally, just inside your camera, you will have things like histogram and even the little metering mode that comes on your camera that goes from -2 to +2. But these exposure tools, they actually only give you a general reading of the whole scene, the whole picture that is showing in front of it. So the great thing about false color is it will actually show you the individual exposure levels of each part of that scene. Everything that's in there will have an exposure level, and that is represented by a color. Hence why you have all these random colors, or they look like random colors, but actually each part of that image is represented by a color, and that's what makes it great for dialing in your exposure for certain parts of an image. So looking at the monitor, you can see that you have everything from 0 IRE all the way up to over 100 IRE, and that is represented by a full scale color chart. And everything that is 0, completely black with absolutely no detail in it, will have this purple color. Everything that is completely overexposed will have a red color, and that will automatically represent to me areas in the image that are completely overexposed, similar to what you would have when you're using your zebras on your camera. So more often than not, the most important thing in the scene to expose for will be the skin. Unless you're purposely looking to underexpose, for example, in trying to create like a silhouette or something. But generally, if you're doing something like this, like a talking head or an interview, you will be looking at the skin as something that you would really want to make sure you nail the exposure on. So when I'm shooting with my Sony cameras in my Cine 4 profile, I am looking for certain values that will let me know that my skin is correctly exposed. So using this color chart, when you're exposing for skin and you want to get the correct exposure on your skin for, let's say, an interview, for lighter skin, you want to be looking at going into around the 70 IRE mark. And then for much darker skin, you'd probably maybe want to even look at going as low as 40 IRE. So all depending on the skin darkness, anything from 40 to 70 IRE. I'm usually looking to go in and around about the 60 IRE mark because I'm sort of in the middle. So if we take this scene right now that I'm recording myself with, I will usually always have a key light off to one side, maybe a 45-degree angle, and I have it off to my right side at the moment. So that means I'm judging the correct exposure on my face by the side where the light is hitting it, purposely on this side. So as you can see, you've got some grey pink on this side of my face, whereas this side is a bit darker because obviously the light is further away, but that's completely fine because that is the kind of look that I'm going for. If, for example, I wanted a really flat overall look, I would bring the light round so that it's front facing, covering up my whole face and lighting everything evenly, meaning that everything on my face would be completely grey or even pink to give me a correct exposure. So that's another great thing about false color, is it allows you to judge the ratios of light falling on your face for the amount of contrast that you desire. Another great use for false color is for green screens and making sure that your green screen is lit up evenly, which will also help you immensely in post when keying out. So most small cameras like the mirrorless and DSLRs won't actually have this false color built in, so it will only really come through an external monitor. But just for that fact that you do have false color inbuilt in the monitor, I think it's definitely worth investing in one, even if it is a cheaper one. A lot of the cheaper ones now, like I mentioned before, the Cine monitor that have the Feelwell monitors, they are all in around the £100–150 mark, which is really, really affordable, and they all do have false color built in. So there we go, guys. Yeah, just wanted to share that with you. False color, absolutely fantastic. It's become my most used exposure tool now when I'm setting up a scene. I'm always using that to make sure that I'm dialing in my exposures for certain parts of the scene, especially if I'm using more than one light. Definitely recommend that you start using it as well if you're not already. It's easy to get your head around it once you do start to understand the colouring system inside it. And that's all I really want to say today. Make sure you give it a like if you found it useful, and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this in the future, and I shall see you next time. Take care.